Hey everyone, welcome to Does It Hold Up Box Office Edition. Every Tuesday, we take a look at what happened at the box office over this past weekend. What were the highs? What were the lows? As always, we start with that top 10. Let's take a look. In first place, to nobody's surprise, it's The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The longest title they could have ever picked. There was no reason for it to be this long of a title. Could have just been like, The Hunger Games, we're back. It made $44,607,143, which is really low. Or at least in my opinion, that's really low compared to the rest of the Hunger Games franchise, which we're going to take a look at just a little bit later. In second place, new to the list also, is Trolls Band Together, the third in this trilogy. It took in just over $30 million. In third place is a horror movie. Who would have thought we were getting a horror movie around Thanksgiving time? And oddly enough, this one is titled Thanksgiving. In its debut weekend, it took in $10.3 million. What it did was beat out our fourth place movie in its second week, The Marvels. With just $10.12 million, it had a 78% drop. So far, it's taken in just under $65 million. I'm going to be real surprised if it gets to that $100 million mark. I hated this movie. And apparently, I'm not the only one. Or at least, people just don't want to go see this one. Maybe they're going to really check it out when it hits Disney Plus in, a month or two? At this rate, they're definitely going to put it out sooner rather than later. And because of that, who's going to rush to see it in theaters? No one. In fifth place is Five Nights at Freddy's with $3.5 million. Another pretty big drop for them, 60%. But that's all right because they've taken in $132.6 million so far. In sixth place is Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour. Finally gets knocked out of the top 5 in its sixth week. With $2.7 million, a 55% drop, which is a hefty drop, but that's okay. You're in week 6, and you already made a bunch of money. You're at $175.6 million. Hell, that's just her and AMC's money. There's no middleman here. They both made out like bandits on this movie. I expect to see a lot more. We do have Beyonce's Renaissance Tour movie coming December 1st. Do I think it's going to do as well as Taylor Swift's Eras Tour? No, I don't. I think Beyonce is a little past her prime. Her heyday might have been, 7 years ago or so, but she's still got a big enough following. I expect her to do well, but maybe not this well. In seventh place is The Holdovers in its fourth week with just under $2.7 million, only a 16% drop. It's made $8.3 million. Another one new to the charts this week is Next Goal Wins with just over $2.5 million. And when I say just over, it's $295 over that. This is not a good start. But I guess there's a lot of controversy surrounding Taika Waititi and some of the comments he made about this movie, and it might have turned some people off. And if that didn't turn you off, the fact that it's a terrible movie probably should turn you off. I know I'm not a fan of Taika Waititi. I don't like him. I don't think he's funny. I don't like his directing style. I'm not his target audience. But I went and saw this one, and it was trash. Beyond anything else I've seen so far this year. Every movie that I gave a low rating to, I feel like needs to be boosted to a higher rating because this one cannot go low enough. It was a bad movie, top to bottom. And the numbers are showing that. In ninth place is Priscilla in its fourth week with $2.3 million, a 49% drop, taking in about $17 million so far. And rounding out our top 10 in its fifth week is Killers of the Flower Moon with just under $2 million, another 57% drop, and it's made $63.6 million so far in its run. But let's be real here, no studio, especially Apple TV studios, should have given Martin Scorsese that kind of money to make this movie. Over $100 million budget, it's not going to make that back in the theatrical market. Not enough people are going to sign up for Apple TV Plus when it debuts there. And this isn't a story that you can really have a lot of tie-ins. You're not going to have toys. You're not going to have marketing. You're not going to have bags and things that you can make up this money in ancillary markets. So this is going to be a big loss for that studio, and that's disappointing. Scorsese's a great director. Unfortunately, you give him a really high budget, and he just can't always pull it together. We had 4 movies drop out of the top 10 this week. First is Journey to Bethlehem after just 1 week. Radical, 2 weeks. The Exorcist Believer finally drops out after 6 weeks. And Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie, after a mighty 7 weeks in the top 10. Alright, so I talked about how I didn't think the total gross for The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was very good. And there's a reason for that. When we look at the past franchise, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2, they blow this movie out of the water when it comes to opening weekends. So here's the top, there's only 5 movies, so I guess it's not the top 5, it's just the 5 opening weekends for the Hunger Game franchise. In first place is the second movie in the franchise, The Hunger Games Catching Fire from 2013. It took in just over $158 million. That is a massive opening. Movies nowadays would love to open to this, and that was a decade ago. In second place is the first Hunger Games movie from back in 2012, taking in $152.5 million. Again, this is 11 years ago. That is a huge, huge opening. In third place is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 from 2014, taking in just under $122 million in its opening weekend. And in fourth place is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 from 2015 with just under $103 million. So when we take a look at the fifth place movie on this list, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes from, this past weekend, taking in only $44.6 million is not good. I don't know how else to say that. When you look at these other numbers, they all open to over $100 million. This one couldn't even open to over $50 million. And I know a lot of analysts out there are saying, well, it was a soft opening, but it could have been worse. It couldn't have been that much worse. I mean, what, it was going to make no money? When you look at it in the overall franchise, ticket prices are higher now. This movie should have opened up so much better than it did. So the question is it a bad movie? Or do people just not care about the franchise anymore? Is it a little too late for this movie to come out? Legacy sequels don't always work. And this one just seems to be, 8 years too late to hit theaters? I understand it's based on a book. The book didn't come out when all the other books were super popular. But this feels like somebody trying to go into the past to find something that worked before, hoping it's going to work again. But the YA craze, that whole young adult, dystopian future stuff, that happened. It was in the early 2010s. It's not happening anymore. We've moved beyond that, and this number shows. Let me know in the comments below, do you think it's because this movie came out way too late, or do you think it was just a bad movie? Another movie that's having a really bad time at the box office is obviously The Marvels. It opened incredibly low. We took a look at it last week. It opened the lowest ever for an MCU movie. And now with this drop, it's actually the biggest drop ever for a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. The previous holder was the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania from earlier this year. It dropped like 72% when it came out in its second week. This one's 78%. So let's take a look at the chart from a couple weeks ago when we looked at the biggest second weekend drops of 2023. The Marvel sneaks in number 2, the second biggest second weekend drop of 2023 with 78.1%. We all laughed when The Flash failed miserably. It opened up super low. It dropped heartily in its second weekend, but that one's in 5th place here with only 72.5% drop. The Marvels crushed that. I don't know where they go from here. They've only had one successful thing so far this year. Well, I guess 2 if you want to get technical. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was a big disappointment for them. Guardians of the Galaxy did okay. Probably should have done a little better than it did, based on the fact that this was supposed to be the last time we saw those characters, but it did okay for itself. Secret Invasion TV show? Huge disappointment. Nobody liked it. Loki Season 2. That did okay. It didn't really hit the heights of Loki Season 1, and nobody really cared about the show until the season finale, and then that's all people could talk about for a minute. But when you're 6 episodes and people only really like 1, I wouldn't say that's too much of a success. And then the Marvels hits, and it's the lowest opening, has the biggest drop ever. Marvel is failing right now. And I don't know if it's just because they're making bad product, if the market's oversaturated. I don't know what they're doing wrong, but they need to fix it soon. I stated this in a video a couple weeks ago. I think it was actually during the Marvels review that we made here on the channel. I think Kevin Feige needs to go. His whole story played out. He oversaw Phase 1, 2, and 3, the Infinity Saga. He really hasn't had a hit since then. Some movies have done well. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings did okay. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did okay. Some of the TV shows have been better than others. But overall, nobody's really talking about the MCU as the market leader anymore. And I think the reason why is the stories just aren't there. We're not connected to these people. And who oversees every single story and how it all plays out? Kevin Feige. Coming new to theaters this weekend, we have 2 big releases. The first is Napoleon. This is the story of Napoleon Bonaparte's rise to power, his volatile relationship with his love, Josephine, and we get to experience his visionary military and political tactics. It stars Joaquin Phoenix, Vanessa Kirby. It's directed by Ridley Scott, so, it's got that going for it. It's rated R, and it's actually opening in theaters tomorrow, November 22nd, getting a jump on the holiday weekend. This seems more like something that probably should have broken out into like a mini-series on Hulu or Max, something. Second big movie opening up this weekend is Disney's Wish. It's Disney's newest animated film that follows a girl named Asha who makes a wish and then gets help from a cosmic force named Star. It's a star, and it comes down to help her. Clever, I guess. Together, they will have to fight to save her community from the formidable foe, King Magnifico. Oh God, where do we start with this movie? This is Disney's attempt, or at least it seems like Disney's attempt, at writing a movie with AI. I've listened to some of the music. It's not very good. The storyline is boring. And some of the dialogue and things I've heard in these trailers, they don't seem real. It seems so cliche and overdone. It doesn't feel like Disney's pushing the envelope at all with this movie. They're kind of just doing the same old, but worse. It stars Ariana DeBose, Chris Pine, and Alan Tudyk. It's directed by Chris Buck, who also directed Disney's Tarzan, Surf's Up, and Frozen 1 and 2. And it's co-directed by Fawn Vera Sunthorn, and this will be her first movie ever. It's rated PG-13, and it hits theaters this weekend. In the US, it is a holiday. We are celebrating Thanksgiving this Thursday. So next week, this show might be a day late. Might come out on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, depending on if the numbers come in or not. Sometimes when we get holiday weekends like this, the numbers don't come in on Monday. Sometimes they don't even come in Tuesday morning. They might not come in until late Tuesday, which wouldn't allow me to get the show out until Wednesday unless I use estimates. And who wants to use estimates? We want the actual numbers. So don't be surprised if this show is postponed next week till Wednesday. All right, that was it for me and checking out the box office from this past weekend. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the show. Let me get some feedback. What charts do you like? What charts don't you like? Is there something new you want to see to the show? Is there something I've done in the past that you'd like me to revisit? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. You can also click the video on the screen right now to check out something else that we made. And until next week, be good to yourself, be kind to others, keep watching movies, and have a happy Thanksgiving.